Hey guys, tonight we're diving into a world of ancient mystery and opulence, where the color purple wasn't just a pretty shade, but a powerful symbol of wealth and status. Imagine yourself rummaging through the dusty corners of your attic, the air thick with age, and then, bam, you stumble upon an ancient manuscript. Its pages are crinkled and yellowed, each inked letter whispering secrets of a lost treasure that could only unlock if you decipher its cryptic message. The scent of old paper fills your nostrils as your imagination races, transforming an ordinary evening into the start of a grand adventure. It's exhilarating, but also a little daunting. After all, you're not indestructible, and while hunting treasures sounds thrilling, you probably won't survive an encounter with a hungry bear or a booby trap. So just keep that in mind. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And feel free to drop your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where you're all tuning in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. As you unfurl the manuscript, your heart races with anticipation. The ink glistens in the dim light, revealing tales of long-lost Roman villas where luxurious feasts were held, adorned with countless purple-dyed fabrics. You can almost hear the echoes of laughter and clinking goblets, the vibrant atmosphere palpable. Historians still argue whether the Romans truly believed that the color purple was favored by the gods, or if it was merely a signifier of authority and power. Either way, thrifting for purple dye wasn't the same as picking up a bottle of your favorite lavender-scented soap today. Back then, producing this hue required the painstaking labor of thousands of tiny mollusks known as murex. Yes, it took thousands of them just to create a single ounce of this royal pigment. How fantastically ridiculous and extravagant. Imagine the arm lengths of murex used to gussy up some toga. That means your little treasure hunt may not be about coins or jewels. It could lead you to the remnants of this fascinating dye industry. You read more of the manuscript, and the more you decipher, the more your excitement swells. The pages talk about a special law established by Roman emperors, which regulated who could wear purple. It was a distinct privilege reserved only for those in the highest tiers of society, senators and emperors, adorned in it during important ceremonies. The lower classes didn't even dare risk the wrath of the law, for wearing purple unlawfully was a capital offense. It seems hyperbolic, right? But in Rome, the color purple was not just fabric, it was a statement. Historians even argue about the impact these color laws had on the social fabric of ancient Rome, pun intended. As the law grew in strictness, so did the expressions of power and prestige among the elite. Now, as you trace your fingers over the parchment, you can almost visualize ancient streets lined with vendors hawking all shades of goods. Red for the common citizen and dark mauves for the aspirants, but only the richest could strut about in bright purple. The manuscript reveals cities where specific dyes were treasured, like Tyre, a coastal city famed for its dye production. In fact, this city was said to produce a color so vibrant that those who wore it had the sun itself envious. Just thinking about it transports you to bustling marketplaces where merchants shout in lively tongues, trying to draw people into their stalls. It's quite easy to imagine yourself haggling for a piece of that precious cloth, though you can almost hear the ancient shopkeeper laugh at your inept bargaining skills. This manuscript hints at piracy, gods, and an underground economy built around these rare mollusks, a world where the sea gave birth to both beauty and brutality. You almost feel like a detective piecing together clues. What if, hidden in your attic among this ancient script, lay a more tangible clue to a lost cache of purple-dyed treasures? You can hear the echoes of the past urging you forward, as every letter reveals more of this intricate tapestry of history. But then again, you might want to keep an eye out for those pesky traps, or even more modern-day distractions like your phone buzzing. keeping you tethered to this reality while your brain drifts among the threads of ancient Rome. As you lose yourself in these thoughts, you can't help but wonder about the stories behind those purple robes. What must it have felt like to don such a hue, to be judged by the society in which you lived? A cloak of power wrapped around your shoulders, but at a cost. What if someone who didn't love you decided to take your robe of purple? The ramifications would be unimaginable. The manuscript opens up a can of worms, potentially leading to aristocratic rivalries, or perhaps even assassination plots, all woven into the very fabric of Roman politics. You think of how the Romans weren't just about brawn. They were deeply enmeshed in the arts, science, and drama, navigating through rich swirls of color, expertly mixing ambition and rivalry like they did with their dyes. If only dying for authority were a thing today, imagine how differently the world of fashion would look now, with politicians wrapped in purple cloaks parading their power in modern-day supermarkets. But alas, that's a different story. As the thoughts flicker through your mind, you realize this manuscript has only scratched the surface of your burgeoning inquiry. There's a world waiting beneath the words. It's not just about regality, but a whole complex tale of trade, economics, and perhaps even the casualties incurred in the name of wealth. You feel a craving for more information, more tale, an arrow directing you further down the path of exploration. And each shall try their best to decipher the legacy that color left behind, where the very fabric of society in Rome was eternally interlinked with the color purple, a level of intrigue that will surely have you losing sleep tonight. With this newfound spark ignited inside of you, whether you're breathing in the dusty scent of the attic or not, you feel the pull to embark on this journey. The thrill of history lies in the layers, the tangibility of a time long past wrapped in the fleeting, vibrant threads of purple. The urgency to unearth its story calls louder than ever, echoing endlessly in your mind. Your fingers graze the rough parchment, a thrill coursing through you like electricity. The manuscript speaks of long-lost mysteries, clues waiting to be uncovered, and secrets buried beneath the weight of history. This isn't just a dusty old scroll. It's a map to adventure, and you can feel the pull to follow it. You glance around your quiet room, the moonlight casting a silvery glow on your cluttered desk, illuminating forgotten trinkets that suddenly seem uninteresting compared to the riveting clues before you. If only they could give you a hint of what to expect next. With the manuscript now firmly in hand, you take a deep breath and prepare to embark on this quest. You're not quite Indiana Jones, but hey, who needs a fedora and a whip when you have scholarly dreams? You decide to head to the local library, the last bastion of the bookish, on your journey to unravel the mystery of the purple dye and its lofty significance. As the night settles around you, you imagine the ancient markets of Rome filled with merchants hawking their wares. Get your purple, real Tyrian, the dye that makes you royal. You grin at the thought. It must have been quite the sight. Did you know the color purple was so precious in ancient Rome that it was worth more than gold? That's right, 1 ounce of this regal dye could make you rethink your budgeting skills. You stroll through the quiet streets, your pulse quickening with each step. Each alley and cobblestone feels like a step into history itself. You imagine the gossip of Roman aristocrats, snickering over too much purple on a toga, their laughter echoing off the walls. And then, of course, there was the occasional rogue aristocrat who donned too much purple, a real fashion statement gone wrong. Historians still argue whether these snickers were rooted in genuine fashion advice or simply classic, keeping up with the Joneses nonsense. Arriving at the library, you notice the very air smells like books, a mix of aged paper, ink, and a hint of mystery. A shushing librarian eyes you, so you keep your voice down to a whisper. You traverse the cool aisles, your heart racing. Somewhere in the depths of this grand vault of knowledge, you hope to locate another fragment of this enigma. Finally, you find a section dedicated to the history of dyes. The books here appear to be teetering under the weight of centuries of fashion history. Dying to be royal, the story of Tyrian purple catches your eye. You pull it out and the cover crinkles gently, as if it hasn't been touched in ages. You settle down at a nearby table, leafing through the pages. As history often does, it throws some interesting tidbits your way. Did you know that encounters with sea snails were often part of the process to make this dye? Apparently, thousands of these tiny creatures would be crushed to produce just a small amount of the vibrant color. Talk about a smelly job, but it was worth it, as the result was a hue so striking that emperors draped themselves in it like it was the latest trend on a fashion runway. But it's not just the color that makes you curious. It's the rumored stories behind those who wore it. You dive deep into tales of emperors who flaunted their wealth, not just because of the dye's price tag, but for its symbolic meaning. You chuckle to yourself, picturing one emperor leaning over a balcony, yelling, "You think I'm just rich? I'm fabulously purple." Before you know it, time slips away. The pages blur as you lose yourself in the stories of intrigue, power struggles, and somewhere, you can't shake the feeling that the manuscript's clues are hinting at a hidden chapter in history. Perhaps one that rivals even the greatest of tales. But what exactly the message is remains just out of reach, a riddle within the text. You pore over maps and illustrations until one drawing catches your eye. It appears to depict a secret gathering of dignitaries, cloaked in shades of purple. They're huddled around what looks like an enormous scroll, revealing secrets that their faces tell you should not be shared lightly. What could it mean? As you ponder this new mystery, a light bulb goes off in your head. You remember the manuscript's mention of a hidden location, a rumored site where purple dye was once created, but has since been lost to time. It strikes you that perhaps the key to unlocking this riddle isn't just buried in words, but in the very land that witnessed the rise and fall of empires. After all, history has a way of pulling people into its fabric, and tonight, you feel woven tightly into its elaborate tapestry. Rising from your chair, excitement bubbling in your chest, you realize a new adventure is calling, one that may lead you not only through history, but right into the heart of why the Romans took such great care over their precious purple. Nobody could have prepared you for the promise of a late-night expedition, but here you are, stoked and ready to follow the clues. Armed with your newfound knowledge and previous hints, you prepare to take the plunge into the unknown, welcoming whatever quirks disparity may throw your way. And so, with hope in your heart and a smile twitching on your lips, you set off into the moonlit night, ready to unravel history one precious hue at a time. You sit down at a table in the dimly lit library, the air filled with the scent of old books and dust. As you flip through the yellowed pages of the manuscript, you can feel a tingle of anticipation. It soon becomes clear that this isn't just any run-of-the-mill script. It hails from a forgotten civilization, one that once marveled at the splendor of purple dye. What dark yet vibrant tales might it reveal? You can't help but wonder about the secret lives of those who walked the earth when color had a story all its own. As you delve deeper, the ink almost seems to pulse with history. You recall a mainstream historical fact that the ancient Phoenicians were the masterminds behind the extraction of Tyrian purple dye from sea snails, a process so labor-intensive that it took thousands of snails to produce just a single ounce. Imagine the conversations surrounding a dyer's workshop back then. "I just got a promotion. Now I get to pick shells instead of just dyeing sheets." A quirky tidbit rushes into your mind as you think about their obsession with purple. Apparently, those who wore purple were sometimes referred to as royal pain, and not just because of the dye's expense. You chuckle at the thought of a toga party where everyone walks around like an overripe grape, complaining about how their outfits are responsible for their sluggish dance moves. Flipping a few more pages, your eyes land on a passage that discusses a secret gathering of dye merchants. the promise of wealth and influence binding them tighter than the threads of their garments. Historians still argue whether these merchants were the real power brokers behind the Roman Empire, using their colorful commodities to negotiate and settle disputes. Were they the original dynasty? You chuckle softly at the thought, a tiny giggle barely escaping your lips. Ancient political drama with a splash of purple. Now that's a twist worthy of a grand epic. You glance around the library, half expecting to see the spirit of some ancient dye merchant quizzing you on your knowledge of hues. What if you could channel their passion and wisdom? What if the manuscript hid not just tales but potential clues to their secrets? You feel the pull of adventure urge you onward, a gentle nudge like the persistent tap of a mischievous cat at your leg. With renewed vigor, you begin to sketch out the details you've uncovered. What if these merchants had a heart for the arts and created masterpieces using their colorful creations? Perhaps they hosted secret fashion shows draped in vibrant purples, betwixt convoluted discussions on how to stay out of the emperor's line of sight. A chuckle escapes you as you imagine a Roman high society dinner where someone accidentally spills a goblet of red wine on someone else's purple cloak. The horror! What a faux pas, considering that purple was reserved for only the highest echelons of society. Continuing, your fingers trace over illustrations that depict a network of merchants marching through the bustling streets of a thriving city. They wear elaborate garments, dripping with the finest shades of purple, and each garment seems to reflect their own status. Were hints of envy and rivalry part and parcel of their meetings? You can practically hear the whispers. Did you see how much purple Cassius is sporting? Who does he think he is? You wear a smirk as you ponder these ancient social circles. Jealousy was timeless, and perhaps its roots were stained in a lovely Tyrian hue. In a corner of the manuscript, you discover a riddle, its text faded but decipherable. In the shadows we gather, where colors combine, wealth in our hands with elegance we dine. But beware the one whose tongue drips with greed. A fortune can shatter like glass in great need. The implications of this riddle ripple through your mind, conspiring with your imagination. Is there more to this secret gathering than mere fabric, more than dye? Your heart races as possibilities unfold. Could there have been a hidden stash of dye, undiscovered to this day? A cliffhanger worthy of a spy versus spy episode, but steeped in history. You stifle the urge to look over your shoulder like a character in a detective film. After all, the library is eerily quiet, and you're equipped with nothing but your wits and a manuscript dating back to a lost civilization. How romantic, if the romance is tinged with just a hint of an adrenaline rush. With each word you absorb, you feel a connection to those who lived centuries ago, their ambitions echoing through time. Maybe their secrets woven into colorful threads wait for a curious soul to unearth them, just like you. The story begins to unfold like the dust of time itself, and as a cozy warmth settles around you, you can't help but smile. Your conclusion feels illuminating, as though you're not merely uncovering histories. Perhaps you're about to be fashioned into a part of it. As moonlight stretches across the pages, you can already see the plot thickening as the night deepens. Perhaps tomorrow will bring you closer to this gathering of dye merchants, or even to a treasure swathed in purple, a legacy waiting to be revived. As the echoes of past merchants fade, you notice a figure bustling toward you, adorned in layers of mismatched, brightly colored attire that could easily rival the splendor of any Roman senator's cloak. With wild hair sprouting in all directions and glasses thick enough to rival the walls of a fortress, the historian introduces themselves as Maximus, a name surely chosen for its grandness rather than practicality. Ah, you've been nosing around the mysteries of purple dye, haven't you? Fascinating stuff, Maximus beams, a world of excitement shining in their bright eyes. You can practically feel the energy radiating from them, like a historian powered by caffeine and sheer, unadulterated enthusiasm. In an instant, They launch into a tale about the rise of purple dye trade, explaining how it was comically difficult to gather enough sea snails to create just a small amount of the coveted color. You'd think it was made from gold, not mollusks, they joke. People were clutching their pearls, figuratively, of course, over lavender pants and plum cloaks. Their laughter is infectious, and you find yourself chuckling as they continue. Did you know that some wealthy Romans even had a saying, "When in doubt, drape yourself in purple"? Maximus adds with a dramatic flair, gesturing widely as if reenacting a missed performance at the Colosseum. What they lack in historical accuracy, they make up for in entertainment value. Also, the ridiculous idea of swathing yourself in purple for a mere wardrobe malfunction. A limited wardrobe you quip in your mind. Soon, you find yourself drawn into Maximus's quirky world. Their office, cluttered with artifacts, unravels into a grand tapestry of art and absurdity, a miniature replica of a Roman chariot made from recycled materials, a statue of a snail with its giant shell painted in vibrant hues, and even a collection of purple-themed novelty mugs proclaiming absurd slogans like "the Ides of Purple." Considering the sheer delight of their collaboration with other historians to create some of these bizarre artifacts, your heart warms at the sense of dedicated whimsy. Between tales of extravagant feasts and riotous fashion faux pas, Maximus leans in, conspiratorially whispering. Historians still argue whether or not the emperors used to dye their pets purple, creating mini fashion icons. Just imagine Caligula's favorite cat stomping around in a sleek purple collar. You can't help but snicker, visualizing a royal feline draped in vivid dyes, complete with an entourage of mice stylists on tiny leashes. Maximus's tales wind deeper into the history of the society that cherished those vibrant colors. They explain the politics of color, how the imperial crest was synonymous with the color purple, and the lengths to which people would go to flaunt their dyeworks, a fashion statement with high stakes. Yes, the dye was so valuable that a commoner wearing it could be found out, and poof, they'd be taken away faster than you could say adorato materia. With each colorful anecdote, they reveal bits of deep knowledge and delightful quirks. The historian launches into stories about a less-known figure, the Emperor Gaius, who allegedly wore a purple toga while riding a flamingo because, as Maximus insists, there's no such thing as too much drama in the Roman Empire. You can't help but admire the absurdity of it all. Imagine the courtiers trying hard not to roll their eyes during such a spectacle. Giggling at the thought, you ask Maximus about the riddle you'd uncovered and how it might connect to the history and quirks they've been sharing. They slap their forehead dramatically. Of course, a riddle. Riddles in history often lured treasure hunters into mischief, or, as the Romans called it, an unpleasant toga party. What clues do you have? You recite the riddle that had captured your imagination, emphasizing the part about hidden treasures and power struggles. Maximus giggles mischievously, their eyes gleaming with curiosity. Ah, this sounds suspiciously like one of those riddles Roman senators would throw at their underlings, keeping power close while making them sweat. If only I had snail-shaped artist friends to help me decipher this. Together, you sit stooped over a vast scroll of a map, Maximus gesticulating animatedly as they draw lines from one location to another, weaving connections between the riddles of the past and the stories they unravel. You can't help but feel invigorated by their energy and enthusiasm. Each quirky fact is a new thread in the fabric of this colorful adventure you find yourself on. As dusk drips from the sky, the warm glow from Maximus's desk illuminates the night, casting playful shadows across books and relics. You realize that beneath their whimsical persona lies a steadfast ally who can help you unlock the tale behind the dye and its myriad shapes throughout history. It's a partnership formed in eccentricity and shared purpose, one that feels like a ride on the chariot of historical discovery, snaking its way through laughter and ancient secrets. The quest expands beyond uncovering treasures. inviting you deeper into narratives of friendships forged, rivalries spun, and the vibrant threads that continue to weave through time. With a renewed sense of camaraderie, Maximus leans back, a satisfied grin on their face. Who knew history could be so purple, right? As you and Maximus reach the outskirts of a decaying castle, the towering walls loom above you like ancient sentinels, holding secrets in every crumbling stone. Ah, welcome to the enigmatic Castle Cormorant, Maximus proclaims with a flourish, gesturing dramatically as if announcing a great spectacle. You can't help but smile at his theatrics, the kind that makes everyone wonder if they should clap or laugh. This place once hosted knights and their perilous quests, but now, it's just a home for echoes and perhaps a few disgruntled bats. He flashes a cheeky grin. You step closer, the faded banners fluttering like tired flags in the wind, and the walls seem to whisper tales of long-lost glories. Clutching your purple-dyed cloak, fashion being one of the many lessons from your earlier journey, you feel a spark of adventure rekindle within you. Maximus unrolls an ancient map, his eyes sparkling with mischief. This here, he taps on a cryptic symbol, is our first clue, but be warned, clues often lead to more questions than answers. It's like asking a Roman what's for dinner. You might end up with just as many dishes as they have opinions. Studying the map, you discover a riddle inscribed near the castle's entrance. Where knights once stood against their fate, seek ye a prize so rare and great. Beneath the grasp of stone and vine, find the hue that shines divine. I see how they cleverly tangled words like a purple-dyed cat with too much yarn. Maximus giggles, adjusting his oversized glasses. Historians still argue whether riddles were popular among the Roman elite, though it makes sense. They needed to entertain themselves somehow when they weren't admiring their togas or grappling with their soap operas. Speaking of which, a notoriously sloppy political show was so dramatic that the Roman Senate almost considered it a reality TV show. They dubbed it, rather fittingly, Asterisk Veni, Vidi, Drama. The thrill of the clue spurs you both on, encouraging you to explore further. Approaching the entrance, your imagination dances around the towering walls. You imagine brave knights in armor, a little clanking around the castle grounds, swinging swords and catapulting jokes across the ramparts like they were projectiles, perhaps shouting, "When in doubt, just knight it out." Maximus smirks. Knights really did have a flair for the theatrical. Did you know that some of them had designated jester knights? They were in charge of keeping the mood light. You can't help but chuckle at the thought of a knight on horseback, jousting his way through laughter and puns, his armor jingling like an overzealous Christmas tree. Perhaps they'd present their best jokes before charging into battle, because let's face it, who wouldn't want to laugh before facing a dragon? You both venture deeper into the castle, its dusty air catching in your lungs, a gentle reminder that time has long left its mark. The floor underneath you creaks in response, and Maximus raises a finger to his lips. SHHH. Unless those floors start giving out punchlines, we should keep our whispers to ourselves. You turn a corner, and pastel-colored vines creep up the walls, almost reaching for the ceiling like an artist's brushstrokes. They remind you of the purple dye you'd heard so much about. Could it be that it once flourished here? You stop to examine the vines more closely. If only they could talk, perhaps they'd share tales of the Romans who coveted their vibrant hues with jealousy, stirring the notion that an entire empire's fashion choice could be traced back to one noble knight's obsession with, wait for it, dyed socks. Maximus bursts into laughter, as if reading your thoughts. Isn't it fabulous that such trivial things could spur such great debates? Can you imagine Roman senators gravely discussing these monumental decisions? Shall we allow the dyeing of socks to return? It could bring about a revolution in foot fashion. After a hearty laugh, you both resume your search, eyes wide for anything that could hint at the treasure mentioned in the riddle. Slowly, you spot something glimmering between the tangle of roots and stones. You reach down, pulling away some leaves. Sure enough, beneath the tangled mess lies a small, ornately carved box. Your heart races, anticipation swirling within you. But before you can open it, you feel a sudden urge to glance over your shoulder. You swear you see a shadow darting just beyond the edge of the castle wall, a figure cloaked in secrecy. Your mind races with ideas of who or what it might be. A rogue knight searching for their lost socks, Maximus quips lightly, raising an eyebrow. Clearly, he thinks it's not a wild theory, despite the reality draped in the air being somewhat darker than that. However, your curiosity is piqued as to what lies within that box, and who else might be hunting for the same treasure you seek. You take a deep breath and share an excited grin with Maximus. After all, adventures, with their ridiculous twists and turns, are always best shared, especially with someone who knows their way around the eccentricities of history. With shared determination, you lift the lid of the box, wondering what color, no, what asterisk hue asterisk. The next chapter of your journey will reveal, and perhaps that cloaked figure will lead you to all kinds of splendid new tailies. You step gingerly into a dimly lit chamber, the air thick with the scent of forgotten history. A chill skitters along your spine, not from the cool stone walls but from the presence of something unseen. There in the center of the room stands a weathered statue resembling a guardian, arms crossed tightly, gazing at you with an almost knowing expression. Its eyes seem to sparkle mischievously, as if anticipating your arrival. "Welcome, brave adventurers," it seems to say, or perhaps it's just your imagination. Maximus nudges you with an elbow, breaking you from your moment of reverie. "I bet it's going to ask us a riddle," he whispers. "Isn't that how these things usually go?" You shrug, trying to look nonchalant. Knights and riddles seem to go hand in hand, much like capes and questionable fashion choices. Just then your gaze lands on a scroll, elegantly unfolded at the guardian's feet. You gently pick it up, your hands trembling slightly with anticipation. "Riddle me this," you read aloud. "I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with the wind. What am I?" Maximus scratches his chin, deep in thought. "A ghost." "No," you reply, chuckling. "That's just a cheeky guess. You'd need to ask the ghost if it wants to haunt us first." As you ponder the riddle, you recall a snippet of history about the Romans. The Romans, known for their advanced engineering, devised such elaborate road systems that by the end of their reign, they had built approximately 250,000 miles of roads, enough to circle the earth 10 times. You wonder whether these roads might have carried knights, or at least people who could have passed on their peculiar riddles. But which riddle could that guardian be posing? The answer bobs around in your mind like a cork in a tempest. You try to think, visualizing ancient knights, dusty maps, and an echo, you blurt out suddenly. The guardian's eyes flash and it nods slowly, although you doubt anyone or anything could hear such a nod. "Eureka!" Maximus exclaims. "Now where's my treasure?" Just then, the stone wall behind the guardian begins to shift, unraveling itself like a scroll as the riddles continue to unfold. To claim the treasure you seek, provide me another answer this peak. You look at Maximus, suddenly feeling the weight of both the castle and your quest. A flicker of doubt creeps in. "What if we're not worthy?" you whisper. "Come on," Maximus teases gently. "If they wanted to keep us out, they would have set off a trap or something, like a catapult, or unleashed a chicken." Your laughter echoes off the walls. What if that treasure is just a feast of roasted chicken? That'd be treasurable. Even culinary historians debate what was the best Roman dish. Historians still argue whether it was garum, a fermented fish sauce that somehow became all the rage, or just a glorified pizza. Can you imagine? It's like the world's first food truck special. You both chuckle. The second riddle looms ahead and the guardian seems to be urging you onward. "I have keys but open no locks. I have space but no room. I have you but want me. I am what?" Your mind races. "A keyboard," you exclaim, feeling bravely confident yet mildly ridiculous. The Guardian shakes its head and you feel a little deflated. Maximus smirks. Nice try, but it might have been better to stick with the chicken option. Seriously though, you mutter, grinning. I could really use a keyboard right now to type out all my concerns. Realization strikes. It must be a piano, you yell. With a flourish, the Guardian raises its arms, the stone walls parting further to reveal a staircase spiraling down into darkness. You are clever, kind adventurers, it intones. Many have tried to answer, but few have succeeded. Be ready for what awaits you below. You exchange glances with Maximus, excitement fluttering in your chest. What could this treasure be? Gold, jewels, a lifetime supply of fish sauce. No, it must be something more than just garum or a chicken. As you begin your descent, the steps creak and groan beneath your feet, whispering secrets of ages past. You reach for Maximus's hand, your pulse quickening at the thought that each step could lead to adventure, laughter, and perhaps answers to the cryptic figure still lurking in the shadows. With hearts racing and ready for whatever lies ahead, both of you prepare to uncover the mysteries that await at the bottom of the staircase. As you descend the spiral staircase, the air thickens with a sense of ancient mystery. The walls are rough, the stone damp, and you can barely make out the flickering glow of torchlight in the distance. Maximus walks closely beside you, his excitement bubbling over. You know, while we ponder our next move, I thought we could chat about knights. They're practically the rock stars of the medieval age, he says, his voice echoing slightly in the narrow corridor. Figuring out that riddle must have made me feel quite knightly, you joke, your mind still dancing with the shadowy image of the stone guardian. Maximus grins, his eyes sparkling with knowledge. Right. And speaking of knights, did you know that many of them adhered to a code of chivalry? This code included values like bravery, respect for women, and loyalty. Quite the tall order, really. It's like asking someone to assemble IKEA furniture without a manual. Good luck with that. You chuckle, visualizing a knight battling enemies one moment, and then struggling with a wobbly table the next. But it wasn't just about fighting, you know. Knights often served as protectors, making oaths to defend their lords and, ideally, the innocent. What's fascinating is that a knight would be expected to display compassion even towards their foes. Maximus continues, his voice taking on a spirited tone. Imagine telling an enemy, "Hey, you're down on your luck today. Want me to help you up? I promise I won't smite you too hard." Maximus laughs heartily, and you can't help but join in. The thought of knights attempting to console their rivals in battle is a whimsical image that warms your heart. And here's something even quirkier. Did you know that some knights were really into poetry? Maximus leans closer, eyes wide as if he's about to reveal a secret that could change history. They wrote verses to woo the ladies. Imagine, roses are red, violets are blue, I slay dragons, but I think I'd rather talk to you. That's a pickup line right there. You let out a soft laugh amidst the quiet darkness. The idea of armored men composing sonnets introduces a humorously unexpected contrast to their fierce reputations. Maximus's tone shifts slightly, brimming with depth. Historians still argue whether the entire chivalric code was more about honor or just a pretty idea. Some say it was an actual lifestyle, while others think it was just a way to manage feudal society. You know, just like how we can't figure out if pineapple belongs on pizza. You chuckle softly, appreciating how these seemingly distant concepts feel oddly relatable. Navigating through dark chambers full of secrets mirrors the journeys of knights. They faced trials, and so do you. They had to make choices that embodied courage and virtue. As you and Maximus continue down the dim path, another riddle hangs in the air, sitting just beyond your grasp. The sense of responsibility grows heavier, like the weight of the armor knights donned in battle. Maximus, you say, the seriousness creeping into your tone as you ponder your next move. Do you think we'll have to give some grand oath when we get to the bottom of this staircase? Maximus shrugs, a smirk playing on his lips. Well, it might just be a to be continued sorta oath. I'll take a cigarette break and let you do the dragon slaying bit. You turn to him, playful irritation bubbling to the surface. Does that mean I still have to do the mating dance with the lady dragons too? Your voice teasing as thoughts of absurdity surface. Only if you want to impress the Dragon Slayer Council, Maximus retorts, laughter dancing between you both. Metaphorical stakes aside, the climb and the trials you face are all a part of a grand narrative, just as the knights wrote their poetry on parchment, chronicling the conquests of their hearts and minds. The deeper you go, the more the essence of the knight excites you, striving to emerge victorious not just against foes, but also in embodying the best of what you hope to become. As you finally reach the bottom of the stairs, a vast cavern opens up ahead, lit by luminescent minerals that twinkle like stars in the night sky. You feel the thrill of adventure rush through you. There's more ahead, and without question, you and Maximus are ready to face whatever trials might come as you delve deeper into this world. Who knew a simple quest could turn into such an exploration of values, honor, and heart? The moment you feel a sense of accomplishment, despite the ancient stone walls pressing around you, a deep rumble shakes the castle. Outside, a sudden storm unleashes its fury, winds howling like a pack of hungry wolves, circling around the very fortress you sought refuge in. You peek through a narrow window, watching as sheets of rain drench the landscape, the sky flickering with jagged bolts of lightning, illuminating the darkness like the bright ideas of a bard's epic tale. It seems that fate has a twisted sense of humor, tapping you on the shoulder just when you were starting to feel invincible. Maximus sidles beside you, his expression a mixture of concern and mischief. Well, you know what they say about plans. Make them and the universe laughs. As thunder rumbles again, you can't help but wonder how many knights have found themselves in situations like this. They weren't just battling dragons or fighting for fair maidens. They must have faced storms of their own, perhaps even weather-based challenges like, is this rain ruining my very elaborate feathered helmet? You shield your eyes from the brilliance of another flash, feeling a surge of anxiety course through you. You pace the room, reflecting on your fears and doubts regarding the quest ahead. The stories of knights you shared earlier seem a world away now as the shadows stretch like monsters trying to swallow you whole. You consider their legendary courage, and you realize that their tales, like the storm, contained elements of unpredictability too. While knights are often celebrated for their bravery and commitment to chivalry, historians still argue whether their gallant deeds were genuine motivations, or the fantasy spun by storytellers tired of writing about mundane life. Was Sir Lancelot really gallivanting about looking for the Holy Grail, or was he just trying to dodge his final exams? You think to yourself, smirking at the juncture of humor and worry. Despite your somewhat jolly rebellion against gravity, the weight of uncertainty grows heavier. Maybe if we just wait here long enough, the storm will take pity on us and whisk us away to a tropical island instead. You jest to Maximus, who chuckles in return. He seems unfazed, perhaps even amused by your predicament. The truth is, facing the storm makes you confront more than just the elements. It nudges at the corners of your mind where fear and doubt reside. Maximus starts recounting tales of knights who conquered their inner demons while battling physical challenges. His words are soothing yet potent, wrapping around you like a warm cloak against the chill of doubt. One particularly amusing story involves a knight who, during a rainstorm much like this one, ended up having a face-to-face with a talking squirrel, who gave him wisdom on bravery in exchange for biscuits. You smile at the thought, but also grasp the deeper meaning. Sometimes, absurdity and vulnerability can accompany bravery. With that in mind, you decide it's time to face the tempest, not just outside, but within yourself. You find a safe corner of the castle and sink down, hugging your knees. Airships must be the answer to everything. You scoff dramatically, trying to lighten the gravity in your stomach. Maximus sits beside you, his aura of calm radiating throughout the tight quarters. As the storm pounds the castle walls, he opens up about his own fears. It turns out, even brave companions like him have storms, albeit of a different kind. Once I lost my favorite sword in a river after a particularly ambitious attempt at fishing, he admits, chuckling at himself. Not my finest hour. It turns out that swords aren't great for luring fish, no matter how you portray it in ballads. Listening to him, you start to feel an understanding between you, as if this storm not only forged a bond but weighed all expectations away. The tension in your heart begins to ease as laughter dances around your thoughts. The flash of lightning splits the sky again, but instead of fear, it ignites a sense of unity, a dance of courage among the drops of rain. In that eerie light, the castle transforms into a cocoon, a haven where fears are allowed to exist, but can also be challenged and transformed. The walls feel sturdy, a reminder of the knightly vows you both aspire to uphold. Just like the vibrant purple dye that symbolized royalty in ancient Rome, which could only be wielded by the elite, and was sometimes thought to be so rare that it was worth more than gold. You realize that your vulnerability only heightens your worth on this quest and makes you capable of achieving greatness. The storm outside may be wild, but you're no longer alone in it. With each clap of thunder and gust of wind, you remind yourself that bravery isn't about the absence of fear. It's about moving forward despite it. As the rain continues to drum a steady rhythm against the castle, you feel something shift, a quiet resolve settling in your heart, accompanied by the hope that perhaps, like knights of lore, you too can carve your own destiny, come what may. As the wind howls and the rain slashes against the castle's stone walls, you and Maximus huddle in the dim torchlight, the flickering flames casting playful shadows that seem to mock your gathering doubts. The tempest outside feels like a tangible foe, a reminder that the path ahead is fraught with turmoil. Yet, in this moment of despair, something shifts in your spirit. Clutching the hilt of your sword, you recall the stories of knights who faced insurmountable odds, knights who pushed through the dark, always holding onto the spark of hope. Your heart beats with a renewed vigor, and as you begin to speak of these tales, you catch a glint of something strange in the corner of the room. Intrigued, you rise, brushing aside the damp dust on the floor as you make your way toward the soft glow. Maximus trails behind, peering over your shoulder with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. You arrive at an ancient wooden door, slightly ajar, inviting yet ominous. You push it open, and a rush of cool air swirls around you, carrying the scent of spices long forgotten. Beyond the door lies a hidden chamber, illuminated in shades of amber and gold by a soft, otherworldly light. Your eyes widen as you step in, revealing a world frozen in time. Artifacts from a lost civilization glisten and gleam, ancient pottery, intricate jewelry, and ceremonial tools scattered about as if they had been waiting for you. You observe a radiant purple dye container among the treasures, reminding you of the peculiar law the Romans had regarding purple dye, which was reserved only for emperors. You can't help but smirk, wondering if there's a royal decree out there that bans people from wearing mismatched socks. Because let's be honest, stepping out with clashing colors could be just as scandalous. Maximus rushes to the glimmering treasures, delight radiating from his every pore. "Look at this, a crown," he exclaims, hoisting a tarnished metal circlet adorned with semi-precious stones. You chuckle softly, imaging Maximus as king for a day, ordering the royal jester to dance only in the most ludicrous of outfits. As you sift through the room, a deep connection to the past washes over you. This civilization may have vanished, but their spirit endures in these artifacts. You notice a curious stone tablet, engraved with symbols that twist and coil like the tendrils of a vine, the remnants of their forgotten language. Historians still argue whether these symbols tell the story of their decline or are simply a record of their everyday life, a mundane chronicle that transcends time. After all, every civilization, no matter how grand, has its share of debates. Did their elaborate feasts serve more to impress neighbors than to sustain their people? Could it be that they had their own version of reality TV, where the highlight was the annual bread baking competition? Amid your musings, you catch the sparkle of a golden pendant shaped like a comical fish, and laughter bubbles up within you. Maximus, raising his brow incredulously, bursts into a fit of giggles. "Do you think this was their idea of good luck?" he quips. "Maybe they thought fishy luck applies to knights too." The room vibrates with a new energy, an elixir of hope coursing through you, transforming your fears into something tangible. You and Maximus begin discussing the implications of the artifacts, how they may gissling into your mission to find the ancient civilization's lost heritage. What if you uncovered more than what history says? The idea dances between the two of you, not unlike a whimsical fairy tale rich in myth. Suddenly, a thought strikes you. What if these treasures possess properties beyond their mere appearance? You lean down to inspect a beautifully etched goblet, the etching's curves reminding you of the ocean's waves. Could it be that this chalice held more than just water? It could be enchanting, a magical item lost to time. You turn to Maximus, your eyes bright with excitement. What if these artifacts had secrets to unravel? Together you inventory the chamber, each item fueling your zeal. From vibrant tapestries to strange mechanical devices, each piece a fragment of the civilization's story waiting to be shared. In this hidden sanctuary, you feel the storm outside fade. The lightning flashes seem more like a spotlight illuminating your purpose rather than an impending threat. As the winds howl, you start to whisper to yourself. It's not just you and Maximus overcoming an external struggle. It's the revival of hope and the thread connecting all those who came before you. You leave the chamber feeling lighter, your hearts entwined with the courage of those ancient souls. In this moment you realize, perhaps the true battle was never outside but within. The storm may rage, but with each discovery, you treasure the hope rekindled in this quiet corner of the castle, preparing you for what lies ahead, stronger than you ever imagined. As you step back into the castle, you clasp the golden pendant in your hand, a symbol of your commitment to this quest, knowing you'll carry the legacy of the lost civilization with pride and humor. As the storm outside rages on, you and Maximus sift through the artifacts, the air thick with ancient secrets waiting to be uncovered. You hold a delicate ceramic pot in your hands, its surface emblazoned with an intricate pattern. "Look at this," you exclaim, turning it in the light from the flickering torches. It's almost as if it's trying to tell us a story. Maximus leans closer, raising an eyebrow, probably just the ceramic equivalent of a "have you tried turning it off and on again?" You chuckle, amused by the playful banter, but soon the laughter fades as you uncover something else, something darker hidden deep within a wooden chest. With a creak and a puff of dust, you lift a series of scrolls, their faded ink revealing trade records and, alarmingly, mentions of political instability and famine. It looks like this civilization wasn't just brought down by invaders or war, you murmur, a sense of gravity settling over you. Maximus peers at the scrolls, his interest piqued. The irony of history, right? It's not always the outsiders. Sometimes it's the insiders that really wreak havoc. You both dive deeper, illuminating lines that hint at widespread corruption among leaders and reckless spending on extravagant purple dye, making the color a symbol of power and decadence, but also of excess. So were they just trying to outdo each other in the stylish department? Like a Roman fashion competition, Maximus laughs. I can just picture them. Well, I wore puce last month, so clearly I must go all out with lavender this time. Yet the laughter has a tinge of unease. You sit back, processing the implications. Wealthy Romans celebrating their status with purple-dyed fabrics led to dire consequences for the populace. Famine, civil unrest, and ultimately, societal collapse were consequences of ignoring the needs of the many in favor of the opulence of the few. You glance at Maximus, eyes wide. You think history has lessons for us now. If there is anything we've learned, he replies thoughtfully, it's that a little balance is crucial. Maybe we should all keep a purple dye budget. Like you can have one luxurious toga a season, but you have to contribute to the common fund. You grin at the absurdity of it all, yet the truth lingers. When resources become a toy for the rich, it often leads to the downfall of everyone else. The storm rumbles ominously outside as you immerse yourself in the scrolls and realize you're on the brink of a shocking revelation. Historians still argue whether this civilization's fixation on luxury contributed to its demise, or whether it was merely a symptom of a deeper rot. But one thing is for sure, embracing the past means unearthing these hard truths. Between the scrolls, you find an illustration of a massive amphitheater bustling with activity, a bustling marketplace surrounded by grand arches. It looks so vibrant, you exclaim, picturing the crowds mingling, the sounds of merchants hawking their wares mixing with laughter and kindness. And look, you point at the shadows behind the resources, where a smaller sketch of famine lurks uneasily. The juxtaposition strikes you hard, a stark reminder that beauty and tragedy often dance so closely together. Maximus follows your gaze, nodding slowly. This thriving civilization wasn't thriving for everyone. I mean, they were practically rolling in purple, while the commoners were left to starve on subpar bread. It's the rom-com we never asked for. Romeo and Juliet, except one of them is wearing too much purple building a fortress out of grains. You laugh again, but more somberly this time, still haunted by the potential lessons this civilization offers. You turn page after page, unearthing more stories of extravagance leading to neglect, of revolts inspired by strife beneath the glamour. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? You ponder aloud. If we're repeating these mistakes today, are we too focused on what's shiny and impressive, ignoring the cracks forming right beneath us? Maximus's expression shifts, his eyes serious. Everyday people can't allow themselves to be sucked into that kind of glamour without scrutiny. Can we? It's a slippery slope to lose sight of what really matters. All purple togas aside, we have to keep an eye on the greater good. With these thoughts swirling between you like the storm outside, you feel a deeper warmth forming between you, a bond beyond friendship, crystallizing in shared reflections on the past, and the hope that the future can still learn from it. Together, you continue combing through the treasures, piecing together the lives of those long gone while forging a path of your own through time. As the wind howls, you realize that history is not just about grand events and characters. It's about the delicate balance of choices and consequences that ripple through time. The storm becomes a mere backdrop, an echo of the turbulence of history, reflecting the uncertainty and hope for what lies ahead. In that ancient chamber, encircled by the whispers of those before you, the truth intertwines with the future, stirring a sparkling glint of hope within you. You glance at Maximus and smile, knowing that even amidst uncertainty, you have the power to seek balance in a world of purple. As the echoes of thunder fade into the night, you and Maximus sift through the relics scattered across the table, the flickering candlelight casting playful shadows on the walls. Just as Maximus triumphantly holds up an intricately carved goblet, you spot something unusual tucked beneath a weathered scroll, an ornate piece of parchment that looks almost too pristine amidst the surrounding chaos. Curiosity piqued, you carefully lift it, your heart racing at the prospect of what it might reveal. Maximus leans in closer, his brow furrowing in that adorable way he does when he's trying to look serious. If that's a treasure map, I hope X marks the spot for an all-you-can-eat feast, he quips, eliciting a soft laugh from you. You unfold the delicate parchment, revealing a beautifully illustrated map adorned with depictions of mountains, rivers, and an oddly familiar-looking city laid out like a treasure trove of possibilities. This looks like a map to the legendary city of Tingi, you breathe out, heart racing. The city was a hub of trade in ancient times, known for its extravagant goods, including the coveted purple dye extracted from mollusks, the very reason the Romans instituted laws to control its use. Historians still argue whether these restrictions were born from a genuine desire for equality or simply a reflection of their envy for others flaunting their wealth. But that's a debate for another stormy night, not this one. Maybe it's a shortcut to a treasure chest filled with, I don't know, Viking nachos. Maximus's eyes twinkle with mischief. You smirk at the ridiculous thought. You both chuckle, and for a moment the weight of the ancient world's excess slips away, replaced by a rush of excitement. Who knows what treasures lay ahead? You trace your finger along the map, searching for clues, your mind whirling with possibilities. A small compass rose catches your eye, and the cardinal directions seem to dance in place. The treasure, hinted at in the scrolls, must be nearby. The exhilaration twists in your stomach, begging you to unravel each hint. What if we find a hidden cave filled with all that purple dye? I'd finally have enough to start my 7th century fashion line. Maximus retorts, pretending to adjust non-existent sunglasses. Just what everyone needs, a sparkling toga. Amid your laughter, the illustrations draw you deeper into the map's mystery. The city almost seems to come alive in your imagination, bustling with merchants peddling their exotic wares, a cacophony of voices blending together like an ancient symphony. Yet as you lose yourself in this daydream, you can't help but think about the lessons the Romans faced, about extravagance, decadence, and the price that came with both. It feels ironic, doesn't it? You murmur, staring at the murals depicting joyous gatherings shadowed by extravagance. They aimed for prosperity, but it nearly led them to ruin. The jokes come thick and fast in the candlelit atmosphere. Yet there's a genuine thrill pulsing beneath your banter. Hey, I read somewhere that during the Roman Empire, soldiers received part of their wages in salt. Can you imagine trying to pay rent like that? Sorry, landlord, I've got your monthly salt quota right here, right next to my collection of purple fashion accessories. Maximus laughs at the absurdity, and suddenly it's easier to breathe, easier to remember that history is as much about humor as it is about lessons. With a mix of excitement and newfound determination, you follow the routes and symbols on the map. What if every twist and turn leads you closer to not just ancient riches, but a story waiting to be told? You picture stepping into the heart of Tingi, surrounded by the sights and sounds of a thriving civilization, perhaps finding a hidden treasure that reveals not just wealth, but hidden truths about ambition and community. Who knew history could be this fun? Maximus grins. Next we'll be fending off pirates for our treasure, Air Matey. The potential of the adventure ignites your imagination. The thrill builds as you discuss the challenges you might face, from treacherous terrains to shady traders eager to intercept you. How would you feel if you came face to face with someone trying to hoard the purple dye all for themselves? The bond between you and Maximus strengthens as you map out strategies, sharing laughter and reckoning with the uncertainties ahead. With the map laid before you like a beacon of possibility, excitement floods your senses. Together, you can feel the weight of history on your shoulders and the promise of discovery ahead. As gentle rain begins to patter against the roof, a soothing lullaby ushers you both towards a tranquil rest, the map's secrets lingering in your minds, hidden treasures waiting to be unearthed in the embrace of future storms. The map leads you and Maximus through thick foliage, the kind that offers both a sense of adventure and a delicious scent of ancient earth. Every tree feels alive with whispers of the past, as if the wind tells stories of those who came before. Finally, you reach a clearing, the sun pouring in through the branches like a golden spotlight. illuminating a rocky outcrop that seems to match the markings on your map. Your heart races with the thrill of discovery, but excitement turns to tension as you spot a figure standing tall beside the outcrop. A rival treasure seeker, her dark hair framing a look of determination, flashes a challenging smile. "Look who wants to play hide and seek with history," she taunts, adjusting her backpack as if preparing for a contest. Little do you realize you found yourself in an unexpected showdown. You know you must be clever, for battling with fists isn't your style. Instead, you prepare for a duel of wits. Fingers ruffling through the parchment of your map, you announce, "What if we play? Whoever can solve the riddle of the treasure first gets to claim it." Her eyes glint with interest. "And if everyone loses, then we share the spoils and tell stories in the town square, with lots of lavender lemonade. Trust me, it's a hit there," you say, trying to lighten the tension. A little historical humor for the win. After all, who doesn't love a cool drink on a hot day? You push aside your nerves and offer a riddle, one that mirrors the vibrant histories of those who once sought the riches of Tingi. "I come from a tiny creature who loves the ocean's sway, my hue loved by emperors, yet too much leads to dismay. What am I?" "Ha, easy," she replies quickly. "It's the murex snail." Your jaw drops a little. She's right, though it stings that she answers so surely. Historians still argue whether the snail or the dye was the more valuable treasure of ancient Rome. After all, purple dye was highly coveted, but it did come at the price of overexploitation. It took more than 250,000 snails to produce just 1 pound of dye. Who knew snails were so popular? It's a slimy tale indeed, but you push forward. She may be quick, but there's still something else you can do. You point toward a weathered boulder nearby. "What about this? Name 3 things that the Romans used purple dye for. Hurry, or you'll lose your chance." With a flicker of panic, she glances at the boulder and then back to you. Two can play this game, you think, enjoying the familiar churning adrenaline. They used it for garments, tributes, and even in artistic depictions like frescoes. She finally answers, a triumphant smirk creeping onto her lips. You sigh, impressed by her quick thinking, but you counter quickly. "How about this? Name 3 emperors who wore purple for added style points. Loser buys the lavender lemonade." But she hesitates, furrowing her brow in concentration. There's pressure in the air, every second counts. For a moment you think she's going to back down as her confidence deflates like a popped balloon. But then she recoils and exclaims, "Nero, Caligula, and Augustus." Victory radiates from her, but you cannot let it end like this. So you draw upon your historical knowledge, recalling that both Julius Caesar and his likeness adorned many coins, often sporting purple cloaks, one for the history books. "Technically, Caesar loves purple too," you interject, narrowing your eyes playfully. "Fine," she laughs, exasperated. "How about we just dig together? I heard a legend of a treasure that sprouts more purple crops than a field near Pompeii after a rain. Plus, teamwork gets us both the lavender lemonade." You smile at her change of heart, grateful that rivalry melted into camaraderie. You work together to carefully excavate the area. Each stone reveals glimpses of treasures from centuries spent dormant beneath the earth. You find ornate pottery, fragments of textiles tinted in shades of violet, evidence that the lost riches of Tingi were indeed real and closer than poems had ever imagined. The sun starts to set, painting a sky of pastel hues reminiscent of those precious dyes. And as laughter bubbles between you, you sigh contentedly. Here you are, side by side with a rival who turned into a friend, uncovering pieces of history intertwined with vibrant tales of the past as you begin to imagine the stories you'll tell of your discovery. As twilight beckons, you pouch your treasures with a shared smile, recognizing how in the chase for history, sometimes the best finds are not the shimmering riches but the connections you forge along the journey, like your new ally in this adventure. Amid laughter and fading sunlight, you both set off, carrying the fragrance of forgotten stories into the night. the world promising more mysteries just beyond the horizon. As the last rays of the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, you and Maximus pause to catch your breath. This time, it's not just the thrill of the chase that fills the air, but the electric buzz of discovery. Your eyes gleam as you step closer to the site where you've dug. The chest is half unearthed, its wood worn and weathered, yet you can still see the intricate designs carved into its surface. Maximus taps his foot anxiously, insisting, "What if it's just a box of rocks?" You chuckle, imagining a whole treasure of just perfectly ordinary stones. With a shared nod of determination, you both start pulling away at the final layers of dirt. You almost forget to breathe as you grip the lid of the chest. Together, you lift it, creaking open the heavy top like it's some ancient portal to a bygone era. Anticipation hangs thick in the air, but instead of the gleaming gold you envisioned, your eyes widen in surprise. Inside are scrolls, dozens of them, stacked neatly among an array of intricate pottery, each whispering stories long forgotten. "This is better than gold," Maximus exclaims, practically bouncing as he picks up a scroll. You can't help but agree. Historians estimate that, in the ancient world, writing was considered as precious as any jewel. And here you are, holding a treasure trove of words that carry the weight of time. Each scroll could hold the lost wisdom of Tingi, treasures of stories waiting to be told. Eagerly, you unfurl one of the scrolls. Its faded ink dances across the parchment, weaving tales of adventurous souls, clever philosophers, and the fascinating intricacies of their daily lives. One scroll describes a festival dedicated to a Roman god of wine, and who wouldn't want to celebrate with a little revelry? You can practically hear the cheerful shouts and the clinking of goblets filled to the brim with fine wine echoing through the ages. The writers certainly had their priorities straight, always whether to raise a toast at a festival or, write great literature. As you delve deeper, you stumble upon an unusual digression about the art of die making. Surprisingly, historians still argue whether the ancient Romans cherished the color purple because it signified royalty, or if they just liked how it looked on toga parties. Who knew that there was such a debate in the scholarly world? You chuckle again at the thought of historians wearing togas, scribbling feverishly at their scrolls, and then rushing off to check out the latest fashionable colors. This is no ordinary find. It's as if you've stumbled upon the heartbeat of a civilization that cherished storytelling as much as power. You look over at Maximus, whose eyes reflect the intrigue of these tales. "Imagine, this treasure could change everything," he says with wide-eyed enthusiasm. You nod, convinced that it's not gold or jewels that define a culture, but their stories and how they adapt, or perhaps argue over their meanings. You both decide to set up camp right there, eager to read through the scrolls under the soft glow of the evening sky. The air carries the sun's warm embrace as the temperature drops, and everything feels peaceful, as though even the stars are listening to your discoveries. One scroll describes a clever riddle shared between friends about the odd injustice of a cow wearing pants. Here you go, trying to picture a cow at a toga party. At first, it seems ridiculous, but then again, are any of us truly beyond dressing like a Roman sometimes? As laughter bubbles from your mouths, an undeniable glee fills the space around you. You both realize that while wealth can be measured in gold pieces, the richest experiences often come from sharing stories and laughter with friends. Maximus leans back, gazing at the now twinkling stars above, pondering aloud. If we can now share these tales, does that mean we have inherited a little bit of their wisdom? You smirk, responding with a playful jab. Well, hopefully we don't have to wear tunics while sharing them. The evening winds around you like a blanket, filling the air with possibilities. Every scroll holds new insights, challenges, and even humor, an invitation to rekindle the sagas of the past in your new friendship. You take one last peek into the chest, feeling grateful for this unexpected twist in your adventure. Who would have thought that were you merely searching for gold, you'd instead find the golden threads that weave through time itself? The stories not only belong to those who lived them, but also to those who seek to share them. A truly priceless treasure, embodied in the laughter and friendship you forged along the way. With your burlap sack filled with ancient treasures slung over your shoulder, you begin the slow, contemplative walk back down the path from the Roman ruins. Each footfall stirs up a little puff of dust and memories of the tales you've uncovered, a souvenir just as precious as the ones clinking in your bag. Along the path, tall Roman pines cast long shadows, whispering stories of emperors and poets, of Caesars who dared to dream the impossible. As you walk, your thoughts drift to the audacity of Roman purple, once so luxuriously bold that it was confined to the aristocracy and emperors. You meditate on this, a dye so potent it could define who counts as important. It's no wonder historians still argue whether Nero wore it because he loved fashion or simply because it irritated his rivals. After all, who wouldn't want a wardrobe that doubles as psychological warfare? Your fingers slide along the soft, worn edges of a faded mosaic tile you've carefully wrapped. It's funny how something made for beauty long before your time now connects you with those who looked upon it 2 millennia ago. You think of the master artisans whose craft whispers through each tessera, again, reminded that colors have meaning beyond the spectrum. Though today we might pick out a shade to match our mood, back then, a gamble might be figuring out whether sporting a purple toga at the wrong time might still land you in a bit too much political hot water. Walking further, you encounter a young family, also caught in shared awe at the historic grandeur around them. You can't help but smirk at the toddler absorbed in attempting to taste every shade of rock on the road, offering a timeless sequel to every Roman culinary record ever penned. Your observations wander, meandering like old streets through a palimpsest city built upon the dreams of countless generations. It's this journey that has shifted your understanding of courage, an adventure defined not by purple-clad emperors, but by quaint moments of curiosity and stubborn stories from the rubble, insisting on being told. Not very different from historians themselves, endlessly reenacting dialogues over a cup of tea, debating if Caligula really did try to make his horse a senator. The gentle breeze carries echoes of Romans debating in forums about what it's like to manage an empire. Before the days of spreadsheets, and thank goodness, PowerPoint presentations. For them, history was a living heartache of decisions and dreams, not entirely different from your small odyssey. You think again of the courage in crafting a life from the colorful chaos of veiled dreams and political ambition, in finding oneself defied by impossible purple ambitions, much like your quest to piece together the stories hidden in those glistening small treasures now in your pack. A chill descends as evening falls, drawing heavier thoughts briefly into focus. It's fascinating how much remains shrouded in mystery, even amidst historical certainty. Yet, shining just below the surface is the quirky truth that Romans, for all their serious statecraft, preferred spicy fish sauce on practically everything. Can you really judge after trying snack innovations out of your own pantry in moments of creative desperation? Reflecting on the incredible adventures of this day, you finally find yourself back at your cozy base, feeling the gentle fatigue of knowledge gained and secrets discovered. Placing your bag of treasures onto the old wooden table, you know these artifacts carry more than just dust from ancient times. They carry stories. Stories not much different from your own ongoing narrative of daring to find magic in the mundane. Perhaps rummaging around to conquer historical intrigue with a touch of humor was its own tacit, mischievous defiance of fate. So now, with a heart and hope full of history's laughter and lessons, you're ready to rest, knowing tomorrow's canvas is painted by today's dreams. You find yourself seated comfortably at a large wooden desk, an elegant quill poised delicately in your hand. The ink pot sits brimming with possibilities, much like your mind, overflowing with memories of your peculiar Roman escapades. Here, in the warm glow of the candlelight, you begin to chart out the stories of your adventures, stories so rich and spirited that even the most vivid tapestry couldn't do them justice. But fret not, as your task is far simpler: to share, inspire, and maybe liberate a chuckle or two. With a flick of the wrist, you start penning words, each sentence an aventurine thread in the fabric of your grand tapestry. You recount that the Romans, in their quest for luxury and opulence, had restrictions on purple dye, specifically Tyrian purple, extracted laboriously from sea snails, which, by the way, is the slime of the ancient world and not the most efficient way to paint the town purple. But even the emperors, who set this restriction to preserve its exclusivity, couldn't predict that centuries later, people would be debating if these laws were truly enforced or mere flaunts of imperial grandeur. In between the serious notes and historical tidbits, you punctuate your narrative with a bit of sass, the kind that would make even Cicero himself crack a smile. Like, did you know that Cleopatra had her own purple sails just to show she was the ultimate sea queen? Talk about making waves. Interspersed among the inked pages, you weave tales of your own discoveries, like unearthing that surprisingly comfy stone slab which, for a Roman, would likely serve as a luxurious chaise longue, perfect for lounging and plotting dominance over the known world or deciding which toga really ties the room together. As your words dance with confidence across the parchment, you include one particularly audacious debate that has kept historians and armchair archaeologists in friendly banter for eons. Did Caesar really say, "Et tu, brute"? Or is that just Shakespeare's bravado? Historians still argue whether these last words were fact or just a touch of theatrical embellishment. Or perhaps Caesar just needed a better PR team. The night wears on, and the glow from the flickering candle seems to agree with your words. The aroma of melting wax mingling with the lingering scent of old papyrus sets a meditative tone. As you reflect on the legacy of these accounts, you envision eager listeners leaning closer, their curiosity being the very thread that connects past to present. With every elegant stroke of the quill, you imagine your tales forging connections across time. Your hope is that someone, perhaps long after you've set your quill to rest, will feel stirred to embark on their own journey of discovery. Perhaps they'll dig through ancient ruins with the same dogged enthusiasm you exhibited in chasing down the elusive storyline of a civilization cloaked in marble and mystery. You wrap up your writing session with a quip about Roman roads. Just as one does not all roads lead to Rome, not all stories avoid potholes of historical conjecture. With a wink to your audience, you envision them traveling down these roads, asphalt or cobblestone, with an itch to discover their own grand story. Finally, with a satisfied stretch, you place the quill within its stand, content with a day's creative endeavor. Hopefully, the tales will rally others to uncover hidden histories and maybe color outside the lines of purple dye regulations. A gentle reminder that sometimes the best stories are the ones we least expect to find. As you nestle into your cozy bed, thoughts of luxurious purple fabrics and bustling Roman markets drift softly through your mind. The weight of the day slips away, much like the layers of sumptuous dye that adorn those wearing the color of royalty. It's a deep, rich hue, one that whispered power and distinction, reserved for only the highest of society, kind of like your expectations for dinner, which never quite seem to pan out. You can almost smell the distant brine of the sea, where fishermen hunted the precious mollusks needed to create this regal dye, sparking not just economic ambition, but perhaps a few stained fingers and grumpy fishermen along the way. Historians still argue whether the ancient Romans took it all a bit too seriously. Some say there were more laws about purple than there were about citizens obeying pothole signs. You chuckle softly at the thought of a toga party where guests had to decide between fashion and foolishness. Your eyelids grow heavy, as the echoes of silk brushing against skin surround you like a warm embrace, reminding you that some things in life are meant to be enjoyed without excess, like a good book or a nap. A gentle breeze dances through your window, carrying the last bits of sunlight away and tucking you in with sweet dreams waiting quietly at the edge of your consciousness. As the world around you fades, you feel a calm reassurance, an unspoken promise of safety and rest. Allow yourself to sink deeper into that warm cocoon. After all, even the greatest empires eventually gave way to peaceful slumbers. So now, close your eyes, breathe gently, and let the soft whispers of history cradle you into a serene night, where you can dream in colors more beautiful than any dye.